Welcome to Friday night's video and our second Master Series. This is the first video in our second Master Series, and welcome to the series. In the last series, we really went through and I tried to make a Master Series that basically would assume that you had some understanding of what the hell was going on. Because I get so many people that just want, how do I get this done? And they don't want to fuss with a bunch of videos about other stuff. So I got done answering questions for so long, and I finally thought, well, I'll just throw the whole thing at them, from the beginning to the end of the whole process, and let them pick on it. I didn't get into really fine detail a lot of times about how things work, sound itself, acoustics, audio engineering, the processors, the DAWs, any of that kind of stuff. Sometimes I didn't to really, micro degrees, because I had issues trying to teach people going about it that way. And so I decided just to make the whole master series from beginning to end and go, this is the basic process, the meat and potatoes of what you need to understand or what you need to do to get a good production done. Now, whether or not you get a good production done is going to depend on you mastering those things. So part of mastering those things is, first of all, you mastering that last master series to the best of your abilities with the knowledge that you were presented. The working knowledge and the application of it. So to go into a second master series, we're actually going to go into 3 master series. This next master series is going to be focusing on, once you've mastered the things from the first master series to the best of your abilities, just off the cuff and running, that we are going to get a little bit more into detail. That way that people who are able to grasp things pretty quickly and they just roll, they should be able to put a radio-ready production together. Those people that are more intermediate or beginner, that aren't quite getting some things, or they're not as familiar with what things are happening, that this Master Series is going to really help them a lot. And it should help those more advanced also, because we're going to really get into what's going on and what the capabilities, what the possibilities of what you have to work with can do, the tools that you have. So basically, this series might be a little dry at times. We're going to try to have fun with it, because basically as we go through this series, we're going to try to impart the knowledge of what's going on, the possibilities of what's going on, so you have a good working knowledge of the equipment, the software, things like that, and possibilities of what they can do. So it's going to kind of cross those lines a little bit. But hopefully by the time we get done, what we're going to try to do is, this should be basically a lot of times seen as first, before you go into the last master series that I put together. But the way that I've had people ask me questions, they want all that information right now, and then they want to play with it in a DAW, make their mistakes on their own and all that other kind of stuff, without really going through all that stuff and all the dry details of what's happening. So I'm going to try to make this series not so dry, and we'll try to have some fun, because it should be fun, because basically it's going to open up a lot of worlds. So bear with me a minute, because I made some notes, because basically this next series is getting you closer to the point of being a virtuoso master audio engineer. And hopefully that by the time we get done with this series, that you are right on the edge, bro, if not there. And in the third master series, we're really going to go through and make a series about doing big productions, like movie scores, big pop productions, and things like that, to really show application possibilities of all the things we do. Doing that right now, I decided to make it to the third master series. That way that it's for more advanced people and the beginning or intermediate people that just want to grab some information here or there. For those of you who are trying to be virtuoso master audio engineers, by the time you get through all 3 of my master audio engineering classes, that you should be able to become a top-notch audio engineer and produce for any label or any band anywhere. So basically what we're going to try to do is, we are going to, you have to excuse me if I'm looking down at my notes a little bit, we are going to get you to master your tools. what your tools do, the possibilities of what they can do, a good working knowledge of them and their usage, which is going to cross the boundaries between just dry technical stuff and musical stuff that really is going to show you some cool things that we can do with the stuff we have to really take your production to taking you to the next level. Does that make sense? Above and beyond the meat and potatoes that we talked about in the first master series to put you up a level. Does that make sense? Up into the next level. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at basically the functionality of the DAW, and we're going to be working in Studio One. It's my favorite DAW, but it's not going to be generated DAW specific. There are basic functions for the most part that most of them should be available in any DAW. And we're going to look at your processor plugins, your basic processors like equalizers, reverberations, and things like that. We're going to look at your effects. Your effects can be used as processing tools also, not just as effects, but can affect audio in a way that's more audio engineering oriented rather than just effects to get things done. So we're going to really look into all those also, the basic ones, the most basic ones that you have. And we're going to get a good working knowledge of them and usage of them. Now, basically, this concept here is to try to show what's possible. So basically, we're going to start out with analysis tools first and going through analysis tools. Then we are going to go through basic processors. Then we're going to go through basic effects. And then we're going to go through the DAW. I put the DAW last because the DAW can be kind of complicated, but most people, once they get started, that it's going to be a level up getting into some really nitty gritty stuff that the DAW can do and getting more micro into what you can do with it. Because a lot of people, it's the meat and potatoes they really need to focus on. Once they've mastered that and mastered their processors, and mastered their analysis tools, and mastered their effects tools, that then they can really start working on, really micro things their DAW can do to get things done to help them. But that's normally a little bit later on. So we'll make that the last one. So basically, it's going to be a lot of fun because basically what we're going to do, what I want you to do is I want you to set up your DAW like this. Open up and make a session that has this stuff in it. One file, a track for a sound file. Record yourself going, ah, for as long as you can and get that file on there so we can look at the effects of different processors, different effects, and the DAW, what it's doing to it, and things like that, and we can analyze it. Also a sine wave, a square wave, a triangle wave, and a ramp wave. Now you can either put one of these on record it with a synthesizer, or sometimes you have a tone generator that you can put on one track, and then you can put the input on a different track from that tone generator and then record it on this other track. A really easy way to do if you got a good tone generator. But make sure that they are what they are. The sine wave is going to look like a sine wave. The square wave is going to look like a square wave. The triangle wave is going to look like a triangle wave. And the ramp wave is going to look like a ramp wave. Make sure that it does, and look at it with your oscilloscope also to make sure it's come out looking like that so that you can get good information. We're going to be looking at the effects of different things we do in the DAW with our processors and effects of how it affects that. Also some drum hits. I recommend I put some snare hits and some kick drum hits. A few bars of each one of those, in there, so to make sure they're rendered in their rendered audio, to be able to test the effects on those also. And a noise file. I suggest you download all the basic noise files. There's a few basic noise files that you can get if you can download, and the most basic ones that you have are basically blue noise, brown noise, gray noise, pink noise, violet noise, and white noise. Get good files of those noises and put them in your DAW somewhere. Does that make sense? Put them in a file somewhere so you can analyze them and analyze their effects on things, because we're going to be going through that also. And in your mixing console, you got those tracks set up here, and you want to add a bus for those. And this is this bus here. This is an analysis bus, and you want to be able to have those running to this analysis bus with your spectrometer, your scope, phase meter, level meter, and VU meter, and your EQ. EQs, whatever EQs you have, some of them are really great for analysis. So, I mean, you know, whatever tools you have, the basic tools of your DAW, first and foremost, but also you can put other analysis tools that you might have. We want to analyze in the most basic ways. We don't want to get, you know, I'm not pulling out MATLAB to analyze what we're trying to do, because it would just get a little bit way too in depth for audio engineering as far as music productions are concerned for now. Later on, if you get really deep into it, you obviously will, but I'm trying to bridge that gap so that we all don't have to go to school at Berkeley for 8 years to learn how to make a music production. So basically, and also an FX bus. So on your mixing console, you want to create yourself some kind of an FX bus, FX channel on there, because we'll be fussing with that also. So basically, you want to have a mixing console set up like that, the analysis bus going to the main out afterwards, and the FX bus going to the main out. Pretty simple setup with those tracks set up on there. This way, what we can do, first of all, we're going to test the analysis tools, and we're going to go through all of them and see what they do. And then we're going to go through the basic processors, then we are going to go through the basic effects, and then we're going to go start looking at the DAW and things it can do. And these files are going to be really handy for seeing what's going on, so we can really get a really good understanding. Not only do we get some working knowledge of it, and a good, you know, knowledge as far as, you know, understanding of what's going on there, but also usage of it, so that we can see what's happening when we do certain things. If we turn this knob, what the hell happens? If we turn this knob, what the hell happens? Not just, and then the waveform does a cycloptic third level transition to the dimension 9 in the twilight zone. You know, it's like, no, you want to have a pretty good idea. Sorry, I'm being comical, but you want to have a good idea what's going on there, but also it's really good to visualize it, because then you can see what's happening. Because most of the time that files interact with each other. So, I mean, having a really good understanding of what it's doing to the timbre of the audio, what it's doing to the harmonics of the audio, what is happening to the noise floor, what's happening with harmonic distortion that's going on in there, and, you know, non-harmonic distortion that happens in certain sounds, you know, and definite non-harmonic distortion that happens in things like drums. You know, drums are a horrible thing for that, because there's a whole lot of non-harmonic distortion happens because it's percussive and not musical percussive. Does that make sense? It's not musically percussive. And so there's a big difference between musical percussive and non-musical percussive meaning, and that's when we had talked about in the last master series between, you know, how the bass and the drum kit work together as musical and non-musical percussive and, you know, rhythm elements in your production. So we're going to want to take a look at that. So, and you can also put on here if you want different things. I put a vocal because vocals are pretty complex, but you could put a, you know, a guitar chord or guitar note or a bass note or something on there. I suggest you stick with these so you can just kind of see the basics of what's happening with that. But we can add that also. You'll be able to see most of that happening off the sine wave and things like that. For most of the pertinent things that you'll be seeing that need to be analyzed and understood off the sinusoid, you'll really be able to see that because it's a dry sinusoid. Anything coming off it will be real obvious what's happening. So it should be a lot of fun, because basically the concept is here, not only are we going to get a good knowledge of all our tools, we're going to get a good working usage knowledge of what's happening, and visually, technically and visually of what's happening there, so you can get a really good understanding of what's happening, and also the possibilities. So this was going to kind of cross that boundary and do what I could use that for. I could use that for that or that, and that would be really cool to use on that and have that effect by doing that to it. So that can really open up that door that kind of cross that, you know, technical, you know, explanation of things into a different, you know, area. So get ready for the series. We will get started in the next video, and I certainly hope you enjoy this second master series. Get your session set up like this, and we'll get started in the next couple videos. Peace, hope, love. See you in the next video.